Reportedly looking for a way to teach soldiers to operate weapons with just their mind.
Let's just say we're entering into a new world of Skynet, Terminator. The Chinese army have deployed robot soldiers along the border between China and India. Skynet's happening. Let's go. Chinese soldiers stationed along the border with India have some new weapons. So if you're not familiar with the line of actual control, take a look at this map. Effectively, high altitude, sub-zero temperatures. Similar to Korea, the Chinese have realized they can't hack it up there. The Indian Army still has human beings at this point. Let's keep going. The PLA was struggling with the high altitude conditions, so they decided to bring in a robot army. So you heard that right. China is deploying robotic weapons along the border with India. Their troops were not able to hack the cold weather and high altitude conditions. The new PLA army is robots with machine guns attached. The CCP's decision to provide a robot army along the border with India. We have now entered a Skynet version of conflict. How this will affect ground troops is yet to be known. While currently these weapons are being fired by a human behind a computer screen, China's goal is to have these weapons fired by artificial intelligence. And speculation is that many of these robots deployed on the China-Indian border are already under AI control. Let me give you a little bit of a background here. May of 2020, conflict between the Indians and the Chinese. Both China and India lost soldiers in the conflict. Since then, it's escalated to the point where China realized they can't hack it with human beings. They're sending the robots. Robots similar to our drone technology that are controlled by humans. But China's goal is to have it all AI. Let's keep going.
There is a new threat from China. It is not a battalion of soldiers or wolf warrior diplomats. It's these machines. Initially, they would remind you of remote-controlled car toys. But look.
So what you got to realize, in the area of conflict here, like I said, high altitude, cold, sub-zero temperatures. And almost 2 years ago, there was the conflict I mentioned. And during the conflict, the Chinese and the Indian soldiers were using clubs and bats, and we'll get to that. But now it's escalated to robot drones with machine guns. Nothing good can come from this.
These robots can do a lot more. They are equipped with the machine gun. Chinese soldiers can fire this gun from a distance and without any wires. There are cameras too, to watch what the adversaries are doing.
How the tech's gonna work in the mountains, I'm not sure. We all know we've been in the mountains, cell phones don't work, connectivity is an issue. However, as we've seen, the US has been very successful with drone technology. So what I envision is some Chinese soldier in a shipping container determining whether to fire or not. And the so what here is the Chinese want to have this all automated. It's almost like a video game. You identify someone with a firearm, they're a threat. Next thing you know, we're into full-scale war.
China calls this vehicle the Shark Claw. 88 of these have been deployed in Tibet. Shark Claw has a partner. It's the Mule 200.
So where this differs from a lot of videos you've seen is, you've seen the tech, you've seen them in use, but now they're deployed. So now they're acting as sentries along the border, dealing with conflict. So the recent deployment of the robots along the border, this is new. And you may say, if they can use robots along the border and they're effective, where else could they be used here in the US?
This is a transport vehicle, so not as lethal as the Shark Claw, but the Mule would be very useful for the PLA. It can be used to transport valuable supplies like ammunition. China has deployed around 120 of these in Tibet.
Now the Mule's going to be very effective. It can go almost anywhere, transport supplies, maybe transport injured troops back, deliver new robots along the border. Considering logistics in this terrain is one of the hardest things, the Mule and the Shark Claw, they're going to be an adversary we've never seen before. The closest thing we have seen is the United States' drone technology.
Robots are now joining the People's Liberation Army. Their induction is a prelude to something more sinister.
6月，外军
What you're about to see here was the conflict in 2020 between the Chinese and the Indians along the line of actual control. We'll call it the border. And at this point, no one appears to have firearms, and they were fighting like the gangs in New York. Let's take a look.
带几名官兵前出交涉，却遭到。
So we go from having clubs, shields. Now all of a sudden the Chinese are sending in the robots with machine guns, creating a whole nother issue.
一边喊话交涉，一边占据有利地形，与数倍于己的增援队伍及时赶。
There's already been conflict, 2020. The tensions have been rising. Chinese have sent more troops. The Indians have sent more troops. But the introduction of the robots is going to change the calculus of this very fast. A question for you, where else do you see this being used? I'm not sure I can find a place where I don't see it being useful. But the obvious issue, it's always the idiot on the trigger or behind the computer screen.
For now, a soldier will operate these robots. But in the future, China wants weapons with a mind of their own. The PLA wants weapons with artificial intelligence. Beijing is moving swiftly to acquire such capabilities.
How do you think AI would work? On the trigger of a drone, of a ground drone, robot, whatever you want to call it, it's going to have to identify what's a target, what's a bad guy, a person with a weapon. Happens in video games now. So whoever programs the AI is going to be responsible for the rules of engagement. You see how this could get very tricky. Specifically, if the U.S. used it, say, in the Middle East, robot AI tech, who's actually responsible at this point?
The efforts began in 2017 when China unveiled a new artificial intelligence development plan. It advocated the use of AI in the military. Specific applications were listed out, like providing support to command and decision-making, military deductions, and development of defense equipment.
So let's take the AI off the table right now. Let's just assume it's there. Right now, China's sending in the robots with human behind a computer screen determining, is it a threat, is it not a threat? In the conflict at the border between China and India changed from, as you saw, clubs and shields, now robots with machine guns. I just can't see anything good coming out of this.
The PLA ground force is developing robotics for the military. The Navy is working on autonomous submarines, while the Air Force is developing drones with an ability to think.
So you may say, so what? What does it matter? The U.S. is doing it. Here's the difference. China deployed these, and they deployed them in an area where there's already conflict, where there used to be human beings that could determine, okay, I'm going to let this go. Take aside the AI for a second. Now you have a person behind a computer screen determining, is it a threat? Maybe not the same angle as a human eye. How do you determine if it's a threat? You could see how this could be a problem. Think of the U.S. drone strikes that have gone awry, been mistakes. I can't see how there won't be mistakes with these robots, with a person who's not there to smell it, look another human being in the eye before they pull a trigger.
These advancements should raise an alarm worldwide. Unfortunately, world powers are still ignoring the threat.
Let's get into the details a little bit. This has been brought up to international organizations. How are we going to deal with this in the future? Should we put a limit on AI? But in the right now terms, there's robots patrolling along a border with humans behind them. Instead of human beings interacting like we saw the dispute, now we're going to have people have really no skin in the game pulling a trigger.